The village of Kamo nestled among the whispering bamboo groves. It was a place untouched by time. Ancient traditions held sway. Life was simple, predictable, but beneath the tranquil facade, darkness festered. A seed of madness was about to bloom. Its name was Mutsuo Toi. Mutsuo was a young man shrouded in solitude. He was an outsider in his own village. The villagers whispered about his peculiarities. His eccentricities made them uneasy. They did not understand him. Little did they know, a storm raged within him. It was a storm fueled by grief and resentment. Mutsuo's only solace was the love of his mother. She was his anchor in a world that seemed determined to sweep him away. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. His mother's untimely demise shattered the fragile peace he clung to. It left him adrift in a sea of despair. The darkness that had always lurked at the edges of his mind began to seep in, consuming him. Mutsuo's mother succumbed to the dreaded tuberculosis. It was a disease that ravaged the countryside. It left countless families shattered in its wake. Mutsuo watched helplessly as his mother withered away. Her once vibrant spirit was slowly extinguished. He was consumed by grief. He blamed the villagers for his misfortune. Their whispers, their scorn, their lack of empathy fueled his resentment. They had ostracized him, treated him like an outcast. Now they watched with cold indifference as his world crumbled around him. He felt an overwhelming sense of isolation. The tendrils of madness wrapped tighter around his sanity. He was trapped in a cycle of despair. There seemed to be no escape. His physical health deteriorated along with his mental state. He was diagnosed with tuberculosis. The villagers, fearing contagion, shunned him even further. He became a pariah, an embodiment of their deepest fears. He was utterly and completely alone. The villagers of Kamo always knew Mutsuo was different. He was an enigma they couldn't decipher. His silence unnerved them. His piercing gaze seemed to see through their facade of normalcy. They whispered about his strange behavior behind cupped hands. His eccentricity, once a source of amusement, now instilled fear. The line between reality and superstition blurred. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said he spoke to demons in the bamboo groves. Others claimed he possessed unnatural strength. His nocturnal wanderings became the stuff of legends. Mothers would warn their children about the demon of Kamo. They told them to stay away from the Toi household. His once familiar presence now cast a long, ominous shadow over the village. The night of May 21st, 1938, descended upon Kamo like a shroud. The air was thick with humidity. The silence was broken only by the chirping of crickets and the rustling of bamboo leaves. It was the night Mutsuo Toi decided to unleash his rage. He had meticulously planned his revenge. Every detail had been carefully considered. He armed himself with a katana, an axe, and a hunting rifle. His eyes burned with a chilling intensity. He was no longer the ostracized young man. He was a vessel of vengeance. He was the embodiment of the onryō, a vengeful spirit seeking retribution. The villagers, oblivious to the horrors that awaited them, slept peacefully in their beds. Their ignorance would be their undoing. Section 5. Carnage in the moonlight. Under the pale glow of the moon, Mutsuo Toi moved through the village like a wraith. He went from house to house. His victims never stood a chance. Screams pierced the night. They were quickly silenced. The stench of blood filled the air. The once peaceful village was transformed into a scene of unimaginable carnage. The villagers, roused from their slumber, were met with unimaginable horror. Panic spread like wildfire. They were trapped in a nightmare. Mutsuo moved with a terrifying precision. He showed no mercy. He was beyond reason. He was an instrument of death. His rage fueled his every move. Section 6. The hunter becomes the hunted. As dawn broke, the true extent of Mutsuo Toi's rampage became horrifyingly clear. The village of Kamo, once a picture of rural tranquility, was now a blood-soaked charnel house. The villagers, those who had survived the massacre, were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. Mutsuo had vanished into the dense bamboo groves. He was a hunted man, The authorities launched a massive manhunt. They were determined to bring him to justice. But fear had gripped the hearts of the villagers. They whispered of a demon in their midst, a demon who could not be stopped. Section 7. A mother's love, a son's madness. The authorities discovered Mutsuo Toi's lifeless body deep within the bamboo groves. He had taken his own life. In his final moments, had he found peace? Or was he still consumed by the same darkness that had driven him to commit such unspeakable acts? The villagers, though relieved by his death, were haunted by the memory of that night. They whispered of curses and vengeful spirits. They spoke of the onryō, the vengeful ghost of a wronged woman. Was Mutsuo Toi merely a victim of circumstance? Or had he been driven mad by the spirits of his ancestors? Section 8. The Journal, a glimpse into darkness. The discovery of Mutsuo Toi's journal sent chills down the spines of the villagers. It was a chilling chronicle of his descent into madness. In it, he detailed his growing resentment towards the villagers. He described his hallucinations. He wrote of hearing his mother's voice, urging him to seek revenge. The journal was a window into the tortured mind of a killer. It was a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of untreated mental illness. The villagers, once eager to distance themselves from Mutsuo's madness, were now forced to confront the darkness that lurked within their own community. Section 9. The Shadow of the onryō. The villagers of Kamo rebuilt their lives, but the memory of the massacre lingered. The bamboo groves, once a place of peace and tranquility, were now shrouded in an eerie silence. The villagers whispered of the onryō, the vengeful spirit of Mutsuo Toi's mother. They said she wandered the village at night, seeking retribution for her son's suffering. Was it merely superstition, or was there something more to the stories? The villagers of Kamo couldn't be sure, but one thing was certain: the shadow of the Tsuyama Massacre would forever loom large over their lives. Section 10. Echoes of Terror. The Tsuyama Massacre serves as a chilling reminder of the fragility of the human psyche. It highlights the devastating consequences of societal stigma surrounding mental illness. The story of Mutsuo Toi is a cautionary tale. It reminds us that we are all connected. Our actions or inactions can have a profound impact on those around us. The echoes of that fateful night in Kamo continue to resonate. They remind us that darkness can take many forms. It can lurk in the shadows of our minds. It can fester in the hearts of those who have been wronged. The story of the Tsuyama Massacre is a story of tragedy. It is a story of loss. It is a story that we must never forget.